Welcome to Brown on Cleveland, Sunday edition. Talking with candidates who are running for office. Join us. Today we have somebody fantabulous, Brown on Cleveland. Well, good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to the Little Hut podcast. My name is Kimberly F. Brown with Brown, that darn Brown on Cleveland. Sunday evening, it's about 3 minutes past 7 p.m. And of course, we know that Sundays are dedicated to individuals who are running for elected office, not just in the city of Cleveland, but Cuyahoga County and abroad. But if they are bold enough to come inside the hut, then we welcome them. So this evening, we have someone who's in the hot light and in the hot seat here with Brown on Cleveland. And just like anyone else, the question is, can she survive a one on one conversation with yours truly? But before we get started, let me remind people of the rules when candidates come into the hut. Because sometimes the hut can get really hot. It's almost like a burning fire. Candidates are not allowed to bring campaign material inside the hut. They're not allowed to bring cheat sheets, notepads, none of that stuff. It's all about them and what they envision within the city that they're seeking to be elected. So this evening, I want to introduce you to a young lady who's running for councilwoman in Cleveland's new Ward 8. Please help me welcome candidate Terri Wang.
Thank you, Kim. It's nice
How
to be here.
good? How are you today? Did I pronounce your last name correctly?
It is Wong. I know it spells like Wang, but it's Wong, and it's the most popular last name in China. So you'll be really in if you pronounce it the way that it's supposed to be pronounced, a lot of people will respect you.
Very good. Let's listen. Let's get down to business. First of all, where are you from?
I was originally born in Shanghai, China. It's obviously it's been all over the news. A wonderful city right on the
Okay.
port. I moved here when I was 6 years old.
Oh,
And I grew up in Northeast Ohio in Akron, went to college in Massachusetts, and have lived in Cleveland since 2010.
very good. What part of Cleveland do you reside? And even before you answer that question, why don't you give us some history about candidate Wong Brown on Cleveland?
So, some people may know me from the Community Police Commission
Mm,
that was formed under Issue 24. I hope the community knows that we had, on paper, one of the most powerful civilian police commissions in the nation.
okay.
But as everything is with Cleveland, things that the voters voted for, they voted 60% for the people to have a stake in police discipline, police training, and police policy. And unfortunately, because of the structural problems in the commission, shall we say, in the charter, though that mission of the commission has not been fulfilled. But
All
I
right.
fought, yeah.
Okay, before before we go deep, because let me say this, I am excited to have you inside the hut today. But I want people to know some background about you, who you are. Give us something that we can relate to
Okay,
before we
sure.
dive deep into candidate Wong. Brown on
Sure,
Cleveland.
sure. So, my family in
Okay.
China was a very political family, and they lived through some of the most difficult times in Chinese modern history. The Great Leap Forward, Cultural Revolution, things that might be somewhat familiar to people. But regardless, my family stood strong in all those situations for what is right, for what
Hmm.
the people, and that was instilled in me. My mom actually is not terribly excited right now that I'm running for political office. She always
Okay.
tells me politics has a very dark black heart. That's what she says to me because she lived through a lot of that. But in politics for me is about the people. And I think people, because I have a science degree from Harvard. I think they may not know where I really came from. And where I came from is an immigrant family
Hmm.
that didn't have very much. And then my father passed away when I was 16. My mother only had $5,000 to her name because they were physicists. It's really hard actually to find jobs as a physicist. They weren't engineers. So she bought a little house. We had to move all across town in Akron, and she bought a house where she could afford it. And it's not a bad neighborhood, but it's not a ritzy neighborhood in any way. And I went to Harvard on scholarship, you know, and
Okay.
so I was given a lot of opportunities. That education, changed my life and put me among. And that's the other thing I want to mention. It also put me in those power circles. I understand how people that have wealth and power think. I understand
Hmm.
how to talk to them. And so I'm definitely not afraid of what Cleveland has brought. And then certainly for 2 years on the commission, I fought for what is right. I really believe in the people, and the people's will has to be done for us to save even not just our democracy, that's too abstract. It's to save our country and our
Candidate
city.
Candidate Wong, understanding that you graduated from Harvard.
Oh, thank you for the internet. Harvard, yes.
Harvard, right? You are probably one of the most intriguing persons that I ever met in my life. My question to you, with all of the education that you have, why put the efforts towards Cleveland politics when it appears to me you have a wealth of opportunities in your inner circle and within this global community? Brown or Cleveland?
Well, that's a great question, but there were other Ivy Leaguers in
Hmm.
city council, and I imagine they all wanted to serve the people because it's not enough. Sure, you can have a job, it can ask you to do all manner of things that when you have the
Hmm.
education and the intelligence, it's harming somebody. And I'm not a person that wants to be in a situation that my efforts, because you only get this life here, that my efforts are going to oppress somebody, even
Okay.
indirectly. And this is about uplift. And it's actually, the more I've walked through these neighborhoods before, I've worked with all the neighborhoods, Ward 8. And I confronted the establishment system over 10 years ago, 15 years ago,
You know.
and it's always an effort. Come, let's bring Terry in, let's bring her into the fold. But I know I'm not going to compromise on certain values I have because I know it will harm the people. And now I see Ward 8.
Hmm.
I mean, it's what half of the people spend half of their income on housing. I think 47% make less than $25,000 a year.
Let
And
me
this is, yeah.
let me go back. I need to go back even before we dive into this because, like I said, you are very intriguing. A lot of people know you from the Cleveland Police Commission. You were probably one of the most vocal, one of the most controversial individuals on the commission. And let me say this very clear to people. When I use the term controversial, I'm not talking about in a negative light. I'm talking about someone who will exemplify leadership and what is right for the people, even if they have to stand alone. When you were a Cleveland police commissioner, what was it that made you stand out from everybody else who sat on that commission, Brown on Cleveland?
Well, I think I thought we were all on a civilian police commission
Hmm.
doing police reform to make sure that there's accountability in the Cleveland Division of Police. That's what I signed up for. I'm not sure where all my other commissioners were on this.
Hmm.
And of course, there's a lot and this was supposed to be an independent commission for the people. In neighborhoods on the east side, they voted 90% for this commission because it was so necessary. It was more popular than Mayor Bibb himself.
Okay. I have a question for you. And we're going to move on to what's going on in this new Ward 8. But let me ask you this. A lot of people kept using the term independent commission. I always, Kimberly Brown, Brown of Cleveland, always had an issue with that term because how can something be independent if it's still under the establishment of political individuals?
Mhm. And that's one of the structural problems. And that was
Okay.
actually one of the problems. So I didn't work on issue 24.
Hmm.
I spotted that problem. I conveyed that to the framers, and I was, I was hesitant to actually apply for the commission. I was asked to,
Okay.
but because I took a leap of faith because it was so important, and I felt my
Hmm.
skills and my abilities, and also my network of experts and specialists could really help Cleveland because it was so vital.
Okay.
So that's why I went on the commission. But you're right. I don't think an independent commission should really have the establishment political power, the mayor and council controlling their appointments.
All right.
Yeah.
Brown on Cleveland. If you're just now joining us, we are talking to candidate Terri Wang, who's running for the new Ward 8 in the city of Cleveland. Let's change the narrative right now. You're a candidate for the new Ward 8. Tell us something about Ward 8. What exactly does Ward 8 encompass, Brown on Cleveland?
So Ward 8 is a new ward.
Hmm.
It's quite diverse. It runs basically from West Ninth all the way to MLK and 105 above Chester. There are
Okay.
some other, so it's includes the neighborhood of the Warehouse District, Asia Town, St. Clair Superior, Huff, and a little sliver of Glenville.
Okay.
And I chose to run in that ward. So to answer your earlier question, I used to live in the ward, and I moved to Tremont because it was a place that represented artistic values, culture, but it has become highly gentrified, as sure many people know, and that affects how people relate to each other. And I just actually want to live in a place. I don't feel uncomfortable when people have more than me or less than me. I think that
Hmm.
makes a great society and a great culture. I don't care about all the things that people want to get themselves into these gated communities because you're living in a city. And I feel that not only the promise of Ward 8, but all of the historical communities of Ward 8, everything that we went through, it is now time for Ward 8 to have a city council person that fights for their needs. Because let's be clear, that is going to probably be the frontier for gentrification efforts that would displace a lot of people. They're done with Tremont, they're done with Ward 7. And by the way, the more they built in Ward 7, the more the poverty, I mean, it has the highest poverty ratings on the west side because you're putting seniors at the golden years of their life, strapping them with ever increasing property taxes. And I'm not, and also I don't want the history of Asia Town, the Slovenian people, and the Black communities of Huff and Glenville to be erased. One interesting thing that I don't know if because people just kind of go along with this.
Hmm.
Right now, what I read is that metropolitan Atlanta is no longer majority black.
Okay.
And that was from building, overbuilding, because let's be clear, it could displace a lot of people, but it is definitely going to displace black and brown people the most.
All right.
That is the economic inequality that we are dealing with here. And but Ward 8 has also great promise, great warehouse areas that you could use for artists, wide boulevards that you can build small businesses that attract foot traffic. But my disappointment, as I knew this, but it became real as I walked door to door in Ward 8. I thought, does the city, all that it has for economic development is these kind of grants that they apply for these high rises? That's it? Certainly you cannot build a city that way by just applying for government grants, and they're starting to run out. So that's why I'm choosing to run in Ward 8. You do not have to live in Ward 8, but I definitely want to move back to Ward 8. But quite honestly, right now the rents in Ward 8 are higher than some if you get a good deal in Tremont. So it's way out of whack right now.
All right. Let's talk about um, your. I'm going to do a cross comparison analysis. We know that when you were a Cleveland commissioner, there was a lot of friction with other members. Being a member of city council, it appears to me that this is my opinion. It's not coming from you. This is Kimberly Brown. This is Kimberly Brown, Brown on Cleveland saying this. It appears to me that several council persons have the mindset of go along, get along, right? They operate from the concept of a unit rule. If you were to be the chosen one for the new Ward 8, how do you see yourself fitting in to different committees in order to get some of the things done that you want for the new Ward 8, Brown on Cleveland?
That's a great question. That's a
Hmm.
question that someone asked me. How will you
Yes.
be effective in there? Because they know, because I'm going to fight for the people's needs, they might
Hmm.
be against me. Well, this is a twofold thing. First of all, I think that these council people, though I don't agree with all their decisions,
Okay.
are probably a little bit more professional than the commissioners that I was surrounded by. They are politicians. They have
Okay.
they have a sense of Robert's Rules of Order and things like that. And Robert's Rules gives me 20 minutes to talk about any subject.
Okay.
You know, and that is, and of course, and if anybody takes a look at my campaign literature, I purposely talk about the economic issues because those are the things affecting people and uniting people.
Hmm.
And those are things that are objective. You can look at the numbers and you can understand what's happening. And there's plans from all over the world because this is something that people are dealing with all over the world with affordable housing, getting access to transportation and food. So I'm going to take, again, have some grace and faith that within reason, with reason, that I will be able to work with many of these council people. And many of them actually already work with me, already have listened to my concerns about the
Hmm.
commission. But it's about, in the end, it is all about the people. And I want the people to know that I will be the voice for their needs in city council. And once ideas spread, there will be a tipping point. And I don't
Okay.
think that's going to be too far off here because I think everybody is in the same boat at this point. And
Okay.
that's how you get political leverage is that I mean, I've had citizens say, you're the first person that's shown up out my door in 26 years in Glenville. And I'm, 80 some years old and I will go down with you and I will speak about my needs. It's not just about electing me.
Okay.
I know you want to say I'm the chosen one. It is the chosen community. And the community,
Okay.
it's a mutually empowering thing, and I understand that people are busy, they can't get to City Hall, they don't know exactly how it works. I will make it easier for them. So I will promise Blaine Griffin this, that no matter if I win or lose, I'm going to organize this community. Because what I see in the community is its power and promise, but I am also disgusted at what people have been left with, you know,
Okay.
all over Cleveland. And that's a good thing is that this community will be the blueprint for the rest of Cleveland. And I hope that it reaches its promise again. Right? It was the place of Langston Hughes, right?
Right.
He
Right.
lived in
Right.
Ward 8. He loves the place. It was place of the Huff, uprising and the Glenville and everything. And
Okay.
yeah.
All right. All right. Every candidate that comes inside the little hut, now that you know the history of the little hut, they have put together a platform. I am going to ask you for your top three concerns, and I want you to navigate us through how you see your concerns being dealt with, and when do you think the inroads will come for your accomplishments or some of the things you want to get done? Brown on Cleveland.
Thanks. Well,
Only
that's
three.
only three. So, affordable housing. Number two would
Okay.
be food access, like grocery stores in every
Okay.
neighborhood. And the last would be transportation. But I'm going to cheat a little bit because all of those things are necessary for public safety, and I can explain why.
The floor is yours. Brown on Cleveland.
You know, when I look at the city budget, 400 million I think is given to public safety, 250 to the police alone. But it's at the let's not even, I'll be neutral about it. It's at the last stage when
Okay.
it's a crisis moment that we're responding to that. But safety comes from something deeper. It comes from economic equality. You know, in China they have stores that aren't even manned. You just take what you want, you scan your QR code, and that's it. Why can't we have a society like that here? The reason I'm focusing on, first of all, housing. If there's no housing, there's no stability to a neighborhood. There's no stability to a family. The children are carted from school to school. And if the food, and then I would move on to food. Like all those things are necessary for building a labor force. You are dealing with the work. I think they forget about this. The people are working people in this town. Those are the things they need for their families to survive. And if people don't work and they're not viable and they move to the suburbs, well, you don't have a consumer class either. So I don't understand like all of this, like we're going to attract businesses, we're going to give all these tax rebates and stuff like that. Remember when we applied for that Amazon thing? We applied for the Amazon headquarters. New York was the finalist.
Mm-hmm.
So every place else offered even better tax rebates and tax incentives than New York. Why does New York get chosen? Because it has a skilled and knowledgeable workforce that came from a public education system that's very strong, and it has infrastructure like transportation, right? So you have to build those essential things. When I see these high rises coming up, I'm like, where is the investment in RTA? How are you even going to build a 15-minute city, which is by definition not drivable, okay? It's walkable when you don't have public transport. Everybody takes, young and old. I see people taking the bus in New York, right? And it's not perfect. It definitely has some maintenance issues, the subway and everything. But and it's kind of like what I'm a little bit, and I don't want to accuse them, is it seems like a lot of other cities have figured a lot of these things out. Why can't we just copy some of these things right now? Because otherwise, I think we're just building. Like I talked to the planning director at one point, and she
Mm-hmm.
said, "Well, if it was kind of this, if we build it, they will come." I'm like, "What will they come for? For housing?" I don't understand. People come here for culture, right? People come here for social relationships. So,
A freeze on it for a second. I got to go back to your first platform item. It seems like everybody who comes inside the little hut, they want to talk about affordable housing. And I'm going to ask you this question. What do you see as affordable housing? And please be very detailed with your answer. Brown on Cleveland.
right. So, affordable housing, there is an economic benchmark for that, a metric.
Mm-hmm.
That's no more than 30% of your income on a mortgage or rent.
Okay.
All right. So in Cleveland, that would need you to make $23 an hour as the minimum living wage.
Okay.
We don't have that. So one way that you could help with housing is to increase the minimum wage. I don't think anybody has mentioned that, because a lot of the people I worked with, the unhoused community, a lot of them have jobs. They just can't afford housing.
Okay. Let me be devil's advocate with you. This is the reason why I just wanted to talk to you today. You just stated that uh, we should increase minimum wage, right? Correct?
That's one of the components.
One of
Yeah.
the components.
Yeah.
As I'm going to play devil's advocate, why would we want to increase minimum wage just to do it when people have earned their BAs, their masters, and higher education and put in the work to earn a certain way of life? And because they earned it, they deserve to get those high five figures, six figures, and they deserve certain qualities of life. Then you have individuals who have stated, I don't need to get an education. I don't even need to get a high school diploma because regardless, I am going to make $23 an hour when you have this BA or this MA still making $20 an hour or maybe $24
Mhm.
an hour. Where is the fairness and how do we promote a system where we want our young people, even our older people, to become educated if everything is just given to them? Brown on Cleveland.
Well, that's a good question because there's a lot of mythologies about the minimum wage. And I want to kind of change reframe the question. The question is not about whether people at McDonald's or service jobs are earning $23 an hour. The question should be, why is a CEO earning more than a teacher? You know, why is a banker or investment banker contributing nothing to the economy other than making money, seen as paid, seven figures, six figures, when our teachers, and you know what, and those McDonald's workers do serve like something because they're helping people eat when they don't have time to cook.
Couldn't someone also argue why would we pay Cleveland City Council members $80,000 when you look at our neighborhoods and everything is falling apart,
I completely agree. I think it's up to
right?
92, isn't it? Is it 82?
Listen, I don't know. I'm just listen. I'm just making an argument, and if it's 92, that's even more upsetting.
It
When
is.
some of these folks, they do not have the skill set to sit at a corporate political boardroom table to make decisions about the people in their community. And I know I'm correct because if I was incorrect, our communities would not look the way they look. Brown on Cleveland. I said it, but she did not.
So my concept of the minimum wage is just so people can survive,
I see.
right? And we've had, all these various discussions about universal basic income. But remember that MLK himself
Hmm.
proposed this, but he called it something, it was different, it's structured a little different. It's called guaranteed minimum income,
Okay.
that anybody that can work can be guaranteed income. They do that in Switzerland. The guaranteed income is like $55,000 a year. It's probably about, $30 an hour. But I think even more, there should be a jobs guarantee. I don't believe, again, this mythology that people don't want to work. I believe that people want to contribute to work that can contribute to society, that doesn't suck their soul dry, that doesn't harm other people, and being like at McDonald's, it's pretty tough, right? You have to stand all day, you have to cook in a hot kitchen, and those managers at McDonald's, I think they make $100,000 for good reason because they're managing a staff that is, shall we say, stressed out, distressed, constantly dealing with a diverse, clientele. um,
But isn't that like every job?
it is every job, but I mean, I have to say, if you have to face the public every single day, that's a different type of job. That takes a different type of skill set.
Don't we all deal with the public, the majority of us? Even if you are elected to be a council person, you have to deal with probably what, 25, 26,000 people?
Are they dealing with that? Because I don't. Because would that woman tell me that it's
I'm
been
just
26 years since
I'm
someone
just
came to
listen,
her
we're just
door?
having a conversation. I'm just trying to make some
Yeah.
sense out of everything about what's going on, not just here, in the city of Cleveland. I'm talking about this
Mhm.
here United States of America. Because if you read, every single day about what's happening in the news and then me being a news reporter, I see things and hear things that don't even make it to
Mhm.
the news because I get the background information. So I'm always like puzzled and frustrated half of the time because when I hear people talk, I say to myself, if you really only knew. Let's talk about your safety plan.
So the safety plan. So obviously, I
Yes.
was on the police commission.
Right.
I understand through that. Whatever little public records they were
Okay.
willing to give me, I do understand the police system. I
Okay.
understand from officers directly that we have an unequal discipline happening in the division. I know they like to pin the blame on the consent decree and everything else in OPS and the commission,
Okay.
but they nobody would come into a situation and say, "Oh, look at this company, it's losing workers." It must
Right.
be the
Right.
regulatory authorities' fault, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's obviously we need to confront it, that our officers and the more that we use favoritism and unfair discipline, the more that you're going to have officers that are committed to constitutional policing leaving. And I
Now,
know in
candidate
some,
Wong,
yeah,
I know you did not use the term unfair discipline.
I've seen it.
Oh, okay. Brown
You
on
know,
Cleveland. Okay.
it's discipline, but you can't. It's not. I'm not talking about someone personally feeling
Right.
it's
Right.
unfair. We need to look at, that's why I asked for all the disciplinary records, and I was going to analyze them,
Okay.
because you have to, statistically, you have to look at all of them. And by the way, I have to say, someone mentioned something about Elliot Ness. We all know Elliot Ness,
Okay.
right? He was brought over after fixing Al Capone or dealing with Al
Mm-hmm.
Capone. He was brought over, recruited from Chicago to come to Cleveland as a public safety director to fix our police forces. He was not successful.
Okay.
So we have to think about why in 100 years of policing, why has it not been successful? And fair to me means you look at the entire system. You don't pin on one. Yes, we can say obviously there's this one bad apple or whatever. I don't even
Correct.
like that type of thinking. You
Okay.
have to fix the system, because this is ultimately with the police. It's a work issue, right? It's a labor issue. They're being called to a lot of different calls, and they tell me I do not know how to handle this.
Question for
You
you.
know,
Question for you. Have you ever gone on a police ride?
I have not. I was not offered. I would definitely like to go, but today actually I was out in Ward 8 and I observed a car crime and a gun was pointed at me when I was observing this. So I'm not a person that is afraid of confronting. We do have, crime issues, but I'm going to say the C word. Is that okay on your podcast? You know which C word I'm going to say? What we are going through right now is all of the contradictions and problems and issues that have been caused
You can say it.
by capitalism. Let's just say it
Yes, you can
right
say
here.
it.
It's right here. And but what we're doing is we're putting band-aids on a situation
Yes.
rather than thinking structurally, how can we fix it? Back to the minimum wage. The reason why I want people to be paid well and to have a house and food and all these things is so they can spend in our economy.
So you want people to have a little hut.
Yeah, a little hut.
Okay.
That's all
Now
you need, right, Kimberly?
that's listen. I have a hut and before we got on air, I was telling you, you asked me how come I call it the little hut. And I told you why I call it the little hut. And my listeners and my followers know why I call it the little hut. But I'm proud of my little hut because it is affordable for me and mine. I'm very comfortable in my little hut. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's my
But
my little hut.
you seem like a good planner. You
Yeah.
live. Other people, I think it's sad, because I think things that are like big houses and cars, they give
Okay.
us status, right? When unfortunately we live in America, status matters. But you can't build a society like that. Knowledge is what builds a society.
Okay.
Labor is what builds a society. So we really are really confront. Like, all my friends
Okay.
are kind of freaking out right now, Kim,
Hmm.
and I'm just like, and they're like,
Okay.
"Why are you so calm?" I'm like, "Because I wasn't born in America. I knew this was going to happen."
Okay.
You know, and I think a lot of people that have been at the oppressed at the bottom of society, they understand this too.
Okay.
So, but housing, 30% of your income. I think it used to be 25. So I think they're edging up
Got it.
because
Got it.
yeah.
Got it. Got it. All right. Let's talk about the demographics and the new Ward 8. What is the population of the senior community and young people, Brown Oak Cleveland? Do you know?
I think so. There's 22,000 people in Ward 8. I just looked at
Okay.
the numbers. I think 1 in 5 is a senior, so 20%. I think it has the most number of senior housing. It
Oh,
also
okay.
has the most number of maybe unhoused shelters too. And I've met a lot of these seniors,
Mm-hmm.
and they want the same things as the young people. They want safety. They want fresh groceries. They want good transportation. And they also want it for their young people too. They don't want to see young people more and more on the streets because they can't afford the basic needs of their life.
Very good. Candidate Wong, if you are elected, I won't say the chosen one because y'all, she checked me on that. Sure did. I didn't even know if she was going to survive Brown on Cleveland. It's Brown on Cleveland who's in the hot seat. If you are the one who's elected, what would be your focus within the first 45 days, Brown on Cleveland?
That's a good question. I believe we should always have a plan. Even if we
Hmm.
have to change the plan, it's better than having no plan.
Okay.
So I would focus on immediate intervention on the housing market. So multi-pronged strategy, property tax rebates for
Okay.
low-income seniors. Please do not tell me it cannot be done because we give money to the Cleveland Browns, and this is already done in Pennsylvania. So there's many ways to fund that without taxing working people anymore. And then I think the city, because it's like a lack of money that we're
Okay.
dealing with, right? The
Hmm.
city should take all of these salvageable vacant homes and it should front the cost. It should teach people how to fix homes. We should fix it up, and you can either rent it out or sell it at below market rates. So that applies some pressure on the housing market. And the last thing is the average house in Cleveland is only $90,000,
Okay.
right? Sounds affordable, but is it affordable for working people? Great starter homes.
Got it.
Will a bank fund a mortgage that's less than $90,000? Will a bank fund a repair loan for a senior that's only living on Social Security?
Hmm.
So I just ask people don't need me to explain this. They get it right away. Money is what's mattering to them right now. The numbers do not lie. I think half of Ward 8 is spending half of their income on mortgage or rent. That is not sustainable,
Okay.
you know?
Last question. Last question. You get elected. You go have a conversation with Council President Blaine Griffin. If he is still, or if he will still be the council president, we don't know. So, of course, this is for illustration purposes only. What two committees
Oh
do you want
gosh.
to serve on and why? And we're going to wrap this thing up.
Okay.
Terry Wang, candidate Wang for Cleveland District 8. No,
Ward.
Cleveland Ward 8. I'm thinking another city, Cleveland, all semantics, Cleveland Ward 8. Inside the hot light and the hot seat with Brown, 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 that darn Brown on Cleveland.
Well, so obviously, people, I hope they know, and I hope council people know, they have a lot of power. They control every line of the city budget. So,
Finance Committee.
finance
I
committee.
knew it.
And I don't
I
even,
knew it.
I'm not a person that's like very, like,
I
I
knew it.
love
Brown
money
on
or I
Cleveland. I
don't
knew
like,
it.
but it's the
Okay, one.
money, right? And
Okay.
then I guess the other committee, I would have to choose.
Okay.
It might be, I might have to be the planning committee.
For some reason,
Is that the planning committee?
I
So
thought
you
you were
would say
going to
public
say
safety?
public safety.
Oh,
I did. I said two, but I just knew you were going to say
do you
that
know
with the
how I'm
Brown of
gonna
Cleveland.
how resolve that problem? Let's make sure that the commission is structured well, and I'm going to
Okay.
introduce a charter amendment to make sure that happens, and then let the commission, try it. Let the civilians and the community try to affect public safety. But I think you need to be on more than two, right? So
Yeah, I have no idea. But now we're talking about a true legislator, and I didn't even have to ask her about that. She simply answered in her last
thank
answer.
you.
All right, it's time for us to wrap this up. I had a great time talking with you, talking to you. And I knew you were going to bring the thunder, the fire, the educational components, the planning, the proactive, the reactive. I mean, I just knew it just by watching you over the last several years. So listen, it's 7:40. We got to wrap this thing up by 7:45. So I am going to give you 2.5 minutes to make your plea to Cleveland voters, or more so for people who live within the new Ward 8. Brown on Cleveland. Brown on Cleveland. I have candidate Terri Wang inside the hut under the hot light in the hot seat. And darn it, she survived. 2.5 minutes. Why you, Brown on Cleveland?
Well, the reason why I bristled a little bit at being called the chosen one is that it is about, like, like Bernie says, it's not me, us, right?
Okay.
So you should consider voting for me, because I'm never going to strong arm you into anything, because I have suffered as you have suffered. I'm a working class person. Even though I have this fancy degree, I've chosen to side with the working people
From Harvard.
from Harvard. And there are many people like me. There are many people that could have taken corporate jobs, could have climbed that ladder, but because of our ethics and integrity, and Harvard's motto is veritas, it's telling the truth. And the truth is with the people always. It is not what the news always tells us, the establishment news. But I have suffered bad landlords, displacement from these things, times that I've worried. I had to start my own businesses to get economic freedom, and there were some lean months there. So I've gone through the same things. I'm a woman. I have been, I have suffered some small economic crimes. I know it's not exactly the same as what some of our citizens go through Ward 8, but I'm going to fight for you, because you know what my boyfriend said to say, and I hope people understand this. Terri is going to run as if she is, and is going to serve for 4 years as if she's not going to get reelected. And by that, he means I'm not going to play any games with them. Obviously, we have to have a good working relationship,
Yes,
but
please.
it is time for Cleveland to get its actual needs met. And you just need a person to advocate for you. I think it's not if you build it, if you will come. If you talk about the people's needs, they will come back into City Hall. They will come back to their own government. And I'm here to make sure that they not only their voice is heard, but we do some things that are, because frankly, lots of people tell me this city may suffer the most if we don't start steering itself in a new direction. So, I think give me a chance, because certainly give me a chance to fight for you is better than someone that's not going to fight for you, right? No, no, no specific person mentioned. Fight for yourself.
I told you guys, I told you guys she was going to bring the fire and the thunder. I started to call the fire department myself and just have them stand outside the little hut. Listen, Kennedy Wong, it's been a pleasure and a joy. I mean, you have my jaws literally hurting.
It's good to have a little levity about our politics at this point. We certainly
Absolutely.
can, yeah.
But I certainly enjoyed the conversation. I'm quite sure my listeners enjoyed the conversation. So we wish you extremely well here inside the Little Hut podcast. So, you guys, don't forget that every Sunday we have candidates coming inside the Little Hut podcast. The primary election is forthcoming, not this Tuesday, but the following Tuesday. I believe that's September 9th. What time does the polls open?
Oh, I don't know, 7?
I think the polls
It's open
open
at
at
7.
7:30, I do
30
believe,
and to 7:30 at
and
night.
they close at 7:30. So make sure you make it to the polls. Make no excuse. You can even vote early by going downtown to the Board of Elections. Make sure you do your civic duty. Don't complain. Be part of the change game. My name is Kimberly Brown. Brown, 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 that Don Brown on Cleveland. Don't forget that on Friday coming up, I have former state rep Elliot Forham. And
Wow.
that's one show you don't want to miss. I love that guy. Woo, he is funny, funny, funny. Yale graduate, he's an attorney, and he's going to bring some information for us and to us. And it's a show you don't want to miss. So, hey, you guys, I got to go. I got to go. I got to go. Again, thank you guys for joining us inside Wang, say goodbye.
Oh, goodbye. And I want to say that the Board of Elections is at the old Plain Dealer building.
Yeah. Brown, 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 that darn brown on Cleveland. Sunday evenings is all about candidates. And if you want to come inside the little hut, then hey, you know how to contact me because I ain't calling nobody brown on Cleveland.